Greetings, friends, and may the Force be with you. Hey guys, welcome to a very special episode of Matt's Minutes. Why is it special, you might ask? I'm glad you asked. Because tomorrow is Star Wars Day, otherwise known as May the 4th, because May the 4th be with you. One of my favorite days of the year. So today, we are going to be doing a special Star Wars themed episode of Matt's Minutes, where we're going to go through my top 10 lightsaber fights in all of Star Wars. So, without any further ado, do you have a minute to talk about my top 10 favorite lightsaber fights? Greetings, my friends, and welcome to another exciting episode of Matt's Minutes. So, we're going to get into it because this one might get a little long. So, at number 10, we are going to go with Luke Skywalker versus Kylo Ren. A lot of people would probably, if they had to pick their favorite fights from the sequels, they would probably say Rey and Kylo versus Snoke's guards, which is a good fight. This one, however, beats it for me because I'm such a huge Luke Skywalker fan and I love him just basically toying with Kylo for the entire fight. And Luke, since Luke is technically not even actually there, he doesn't actually strike him. He's just toying with him. And I'm not the biggest Kylo Ren fan, so to see Luke just toying with him is actually really cool. It does have a little bit of some things not going for it, such as Luke doesn't actually fight because he's not there, and, well, Luke dies almost needlessly after the fight. But it is really cool watching a bunch of AT-ATs blast the ground and Luke just walking right through it. And just, that's really cool. And making Kylo look, kind of dumb was also really cool. So, that's why it takes number 10 at my list, but that's also why it's not any higher than it is. Coming in at number 9, we have Luke Skywalker versus the Dark Troopers in The Mandalorian at the finale of Season 2. Yeah, it's technically not a lightsaber fight because there's only one lightsaber wielding combatant. Therefore, it was really hard for me to justify putting it on this list. However, it is easily one of my all-time favorite moments in all of Star Wars, and I felt it kind of deserved a spot on the list because it does at least have one lightsaber wielding combatant. So, I put it on the list. It's just so cool to see Luke in action as he's now a full-fledged Jedi Master, please excuse me, and he's just taking on hordes of these Dark Troopers that have been giving Mando and all the other people that are on the ship so much trouble, and Luke's just doing it with ease. It is beautifully choreographed, so well executed, and just an amazing scene to watch. I get goosebumps anytime I watch it. So, what holds it back is the fact there is only one lightsaber combatant in there, and it's pretty one-sided. But what it does well. Alright guys, coming in at number 8, we have Ezra, Kanan, and Ahsoka versus Maul and Darth Vader. Yes, I'm pulling from Rebels because this fight is really good. Rebels does have a few good fights here and there, and to me, this one takes the cake. It is by far the best. It is very well choreographed. The stakes are high. There's lasting effects from the fight after this on Kanan and Ahsoka that are just really, really cool. Such as Kanan's blind and, well, Ahsoka, you'll figure that out later. But it's also it's not the first time we've seen Ahsoka in action in Rebels, but it is definitely the coolest fight, in my opinion, that she's in Rebels. And especially seeing her going toe-to-toe with Vader. Master versus Apprentice, hello, that's amazing. And just, there's a lot of symbolism there, and you guys know me, I'm all about symbolism, so, it's just really, really well done. The only thing that the only kind of point that I have against it is sometimes there's too much going on. But I really don't see that as that much of a detriment because everything that is going on very, very well. So that is why I'm giving this fight my number 8 spot. Alright, our next entry on this list is going to sound very similar to one I just said, and that is Ahsoka Tano versus Maul from Clone Wars Season 7. I am really not that big of a Clone Wars fan because a lot of times their power scaling makes absolutely no sense to me. Some of their plot points are just strange, but I gotta give credit where credit is due. This is a beautiful lightsaber fight. It is basically two warriors dancing with their blades. It is so beautifully done. And a very great way to... It's not the last fight in Clone Wars, but it's the one I remember the most. And there's not really a whole lot to say other than it's beautiful. And the stakes for the fight are really high because, they're fighting over Anakin. And it's one of the few times Clone Wars takes events from the movies and actually puts it into the show, but gives you a different perspective on what's going on. If they had done that more often, I think Clone Wars would have been a significantly better show than it was. But this is one of the times where it is done beautifully, and guys, it's just amazing to watch. If you haven't seen this fight, I strongly recommend go and look up Ahsoka Tano versus Maul. Alright, coming in at number 6, we have Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi versus Darth Maul. I remember being in theaters and watching this scene for the first time, and keep in mind, this was back before double-sided lightsabers were really a thing. And when Maul activated that second blade, my immediate thought is, oh, no, everyone's gonna die. I didn't know how they were gonna be able to beat him. And the fight that ensued after that was just stunning. Absolutely beautiful. And watching Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan team up against Maul, and Maul still being able to hold his own, really, really, it's just eye candy at this point. It's just really fun to watch. And the death of Qui-Gon, which had huge implications on the Star Wars universe, considering he was supposed to train Anakin. The only downside to this fight, really, is that there are these awkward breaks in between the fight. And, I kind of understand why they're there, and they do help create a lot of tension, such as the shields, or Obi-Wan holding on to the ledge, and Qui-Gon and Darth Maul just taunting him at the top. And the fact that Darth Maul survived his fall, which that's not really something against the fight, I guess. That's just something that really kind of bugs me, is he gets cut in half and falls down in a hole and still somehow survives, but that's a different argument. But the music, insanely cool. Choreography, great. Stakes, high. What else could you ask for? This is one of the most iconic fights in all of Star Wars, people. Alright guys, top 5. Here we go. Coming in at number 5, we have Obi-Wan Kenobi versus General Grievous. I think this fight is absolutely insanely cool. And it starts off with one of the funniest memes, in my opinion, that has ever come out of Star Wars, and that is, "Hello there." I don't know why, that meme just always cracks me up. But anyway, the fight itself starts off amazing, with Grievous showing his 4 arms and just spinning them and attacking Obi-Wan. For those of you that aren't aware, Grievous was striking him at 20 times per second. And Obi-Wan was able to keep up. Just barely, mind you, but he was still able to keep up, which shows how great of a fighter Obi-Wan is, and probably why he was really the only one in the Jedi Order who could have fought Grievous. Maybe not the only, but one of the few. Let's change it to that. And Obi-Wan quickly puts Grievous on his back foot by cutting off 2 of his hands and forcing the general to run, which Obi-Wan pursues him and loses his saber. That's when the fight gets interesting, because at this point, it's one of the few hand-to-hand combats we see in Star Wars, and then it's just, the way that it ends is a little anticlimactic with Obi-Wan using a blaster, but there is still some symbolism there of Obi-Wan knowing that he had to take him down with a blaster. And then his little line afterwards about, so uncivilized. Pardon my horrible accent, but it's just a really good fight, and I love watching this fight, and I think it really shows how great of a fighter Obi-Wan is, being able to cut down Grievous after how many Jedi Grievous has, cut down over the years. I wasn't really prepared to bring up number 4 because I know this one's probably going to upset a lot of people, but just hear me out. For number 4 on this list, we have Luke Skywalker versus Darth Vader on Cloud City. I know this one is probably a lot of people's favorite fight, and for a lot of reasons. There's a lot going on in this fight between, trying to freeze Luke in the carbon freezing, and then the actual lightsaber fight there, and Vader just dominating Luke, even throwing objects at him. Now, Luke does get a good shot at some point during the fight and hits Vader on the arm, but it really doesn't do anything because of his armor weave suit. And then the moment that everyone knows, Luke getting his hand cut off, basically ending the fight. Or at least that's where it should have ended, right? And technically that is the conclusion of the fight. But the dialogue that happens after the fight about Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father. He said you killed him. All that stuff. Luke, I am your father. No. Ha 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 ha. You thought that was the line. Nope. The line is, no, I am your father. Don't believe me? Go look it up. It's actually one of the most common misquoted lines in movies, is people think it's Luke, I am your father. It is not. It is, no, I am your father. That changed not only Star Wars history, but cinematic history. This fight had a huge impact on the community, and for a great reason. It's an absolutely phenomenal fight, and it's one of those that if that scene ever comes on, you can't look away. You have to keep watching that fight. It's so good. The only downside for it to me is it is pretty one-sided, but that's not, given how much else is going on, I'm actually kind of okay with that because it is so well done. So, yeah, here we go. I got the hard part out of the way. Now let's move on to number 3. Speaking of number 3, for our number 3 fight, we have Yoda versus Count Dooku. This fight did so much for the Star Wars community, and for me personally. I remember watching Obi-Wan and Anakin just get destroyed by Dooku, and just thinking, wow, this dude's so powerful. And then I see Yoda come in, right? And I'm just thinking immediately, oh no, he's gonna, something bad's gonna happen. And then they start with their force powers and just this almost chauvinistic, oh, I'm more powerful. No, I'm more powerful. And Yoda's able to counter it, which at the time I was like, okay, that makes sense. He's strong enough to do that. And then when Dooku busts out his saber, and I don't know why I never thought of it, but I never thought of Yoda actually having a saber until that point. I was in elementary school when this movie came out, and I see Yoda pull out his saber with the Force, and I'm just like, what are we about to get into? This is amazing. And he starts flipping around and jumping and somersaulting in the air and holding his own against Dooku. And I remember that theater just cheering. We had waited so long to see Yoda actually fight. And what we got was a little corny and a little cheesy looking back on it, but still so amazing and just something I never would have seen coming. I just remember sitting there almost in tears watching this fight, and I just can't forget this moment. That was one of the moments that made me, not that I ever didn't fell out of Star Wars, but just made me love Star Wars that much more and appreciate it. It's just amazing to watch, and to see Yoda put Count Dooku on his back foot after just giving Anakin and Obi-Wan just giving them such a hard time, and now Yoda is just destroying him and forcing him to run. It's like, wow, that's what a Grandmaster should be. So I think it was a very, very well done fight, and is easily one of my favorite fights in all of Star Wars. Coming in at number 2 on this list, we have Luke versus Darth Vader. Yeah, I know I already said this, but now it's a different fight. Now it's on the Death Star. Which, the reason I prefer this fight is, number one, it's not as one-sided. You really don't know who's going to win this fight. Versus the other one, let's be real, you were hoping Luke would, but really you knew Vader would. This one it's not as cut and dry. Luke is a full-blown Jedi Knight now, and can hold his own against Vader. And there's a lot riding on it. The entire rebellion is riding on it. Not to mention Luke Skywalker's own views on the Force. This is the fight that could have turned him to the dark side. And that was Palpatine's whole intention, really, was to have Luke cut down Vader and take his place. And yet, Luke didn't. He had every chance to. He beat Vader. He won. But he didn't. He threw his saber down and said, "Never. I will never join you." Luke won in more than one way. He saved the rebellion by... He didn't turn evil. And he turned Vader good. That's a lot to have happen in one fight. And yes, the choreography is still good, but sometimes it is a little hard to keep up with during a fight. But the impact on that fight, on not only Luke, but Vader, the Rebellion, and Palpatine, it changed, just this one fight changed almost everybody involved. That's incredible. It's a really good fight, and one that has always been my favorite fight from the original trilogy, and the one that I really go back and find myself rewatching the most. So, yeah, I just think it's a really great fight, and it really deserves the spot at number 2. Alright guys, you all knew this one was coming. Number 1, Anakin Skywalker versus Obi-Wan Kenobi in Revenge of the Sith. You had to know this one was number 1. Not only is it the coolest lightsaber fight in all of Star Wars, it's also the longest. But it's the longest, and so that might be a detriment to it because of how long it is. But there's never a dull moment in this fight. From even before it began, tensions are high. Anakin has gone full-fledged to the dark side. Obi-Wan, who Padme didn't even know was on the ship, steps out. Anakin takes out his anger on her, and there's a conversation between master and apprentice that just shows how far Anakin has fallen and how much Obi-Wan is still stuck in the ways of the Jedi Order. I'm not saying that he's, that's a whole different discussion, but there's a lot of tension before their sabers are even drawn. And then once their sabers are drawn, it's just all out carnage. Anakin trying to cut down Obi-Wan, Obi-Wan defending and trying to retaliate, Anakin just brushing him aside and blocking it. these two, even though it should be a little bit more towards Anakin's favor, Obi-Wan definitely holds his own and shows just how powerful he is. And these two just move all over the caverns on Mustafar. I mean, think of all the places they go. They go into multiple different rooms, on bridges, on lava pits. I mean, it's insane. And yet they're still duking it out and fighting each other because at this point they kind of have to. But man, you can feel the tension, the anger of Anakin just coming out, and Obi-Wan, he doesn't want to kill Anakin, but he feels like he has to. And then that scene at the end, when another great meme, when Obi-Wan has the high ground, and Anakin jumps anyway, and he cuts him down, it's just, wow. That is still to this day a hard scene for me to watch. It's so emotional to see these two great friends reduced to enemies in this way. And to see Anakin in that state, it's a hard won victory, not just because Obi-Wan had to hold his own against Anakin for so long, but it's like, yay, I won the fight, but at what cost? You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot going for this fight. It's beautifully choreographed. It's action-packed. It doesn't stop. It's an amazing lightsaber fight, and clearly deserves to be the #1 lightsaber fight of all time. Well, guys, what did you think? Do you agree with me in that all of these fights deserve to be exactly where they are for the exact same reasons? Probably not. So, let me know in the comment section where you would have put some of these fights. What fights did I leave out that you really like? Or if you did agree with me on everything, go ahead and put, hey, you're awesome, I agree with you. You're the best dude on YouTube I've ever seen. I'd really appreciate it. If you like this video, please give it a like, and if you haven't already, subscribe for more content. We do post once a week here. And I just want to wish you guys a very happy May the 4th, and have a great rest of your day.